Greek mythology is a fascinating world full of gods, goddesses, and of course, heroes. Also Zeus and his many stories. Moving on from Zeus though, what would those heroes be without monsters to vanquish? Number 10. Typhon. Being the son of Gaea and Tartarus, Typhon is unique to this list because he can claim to be both god and monster. Legend has it that Hera wanted to create a god far more powerful than Zeus, so he had Gaea and Tartarus give birth to this monstrosity. He was a giant that was so tall that his head touched the stars. His body was that of a man, but his legs were coils of vipers that would hiss and attack as he moved. His main head alone had about 100 snakeheads who would make various sounds of animals. His eyes were glowing red and would terrify everyone who looked upon them, and he had what was called a savage jaw, which would breathe fire. His body had hundreds of different wings on it, and his hands were made up of 100 snake coils just like his legs. Typhon was known as the father of all monsters, and being a dad, of course, he had a wife and kids, some of whom will make an appearance on this very list. And speaking of his wife, number 9. ECHIDNA. Not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna mispronounce pretty much every name in here, but either way, ECHIDNA is a somewhat obscure but nevertheless fearsome monster in Greek mythology. This is because she's mostly absent from ancient texts, but ECHIDNA's origin story is rather murky. ECHIDNA was said to have been born in and spent most of her life in the same cave, only leaving to snatch up and devour the occasional unsuspecting traveler, as monsters tend to do. There are no real stories of ECHIDNA's deeds, though. She existed mostly as a background character, a sidekick, or an antagonist. She's best known for her romantic relationship to the hideous giant Typhon, and as the mother of their many monstrous children. In fact, some of these children actually went on to be the most notorious and deadly monsters in Greek mythology, and more importantly, they're also on this list as well. According to Hesiod, Echidna did not age, nor could she die a natural death. Despite this, though, she can still be killed. In fact, because of the danger she posed to travelers, Hera sent a giant into her cave to kill her, and it was successful in doing so. Number 8. SCYLLA. SCYLLA is one of the most famous sea monsters of Greek mythology. Pair her up with her bestie Charybdis, the Great Whirlpool, she threatened sailors with 6 vicious heads that lashed out at passing ships. In fact, no ship that sailed past these two terrors could avoid losing men to the monsters. It was inevitable. Most people recognize SCYLLA for her role in the Odyssey. However, this dangerous monster has appeared in several other myths as well. According to Homer himself, she had 6 long heads with which she lashed out to grab passing sea creatures and humans alike. Like many other mythological monsters, she was described as being half-human. Her upper half was said to resemble a woman, while her lower body was more like that of a sea monster. The 6 heads that Homer described were later clarified to be canine. Dogs were frequently associated with underworld monsters in Greek mythology, and the ring of dog heads around her waist gave SCYLLA a resemblance to Typhon, but the two aren't related. In fact, they're not related at all, as SCYLLA was once a beautiful nymph that the god Poseidon longed for. And then his jealous wife then turned her into a monster, poisoning her bathing water. That's pretty standard for Greek gods and goddesses, actually. Moving on. Number 7. Charybdis. Of course, when talking about SCYLLA, we can't never mention her perennial partner in crime, Charybdis, who lives under a rock just opposite her. 3 times a day, Charybdis swallowed a huge amount of water before belching it back out again, creating large whirlpools capable of dragging a ship underwater. In some variations of the story, Charybdis was simply a large whirlpool rather than that of a sea monster. A later myth makes Charybdis the daughter of Poseidon and Gaia, and living as a loyal servant to Poseidon. She actually aided him in his feud with Zeus, and as such helped him engulf lands and islands in water. Zeus, angry for the land she stole from him, cursed her into a hideous bladder of a monster, with flippers for arms and legs and an uncontrollable thirst for the sea. As such, he drank the water from the sea 3 times a day to quench it, which created the whirlpools. She lingered on a rock with SCYLLA facing her directly on another rock, making a straight. Number 6. The CHIMERA. The CHIMERA may be ancient Greece's most bizarre creature, so bizarre that its name is now used to describe any creature with an unusual combination of animal traits. To put it simply, the CHIMERA is a female lion. It's got a lion's body, complete from head to tail. Exaggerated ears and breasts show that the creature is female, even though it does have a short, ragged mane. But then it gets weirder. The creature also has a goat's head, which rises from its back. It's presumed to be male since it has horns and a beard. Finally, the monster's lion tail morphs into a snake with a venomous serpentine head, replacing the lion's natural puff of fur. It was reputed to be near invincible, for she had the strength of a lion, the cunning of a goat, and the venom of a snake. However, this monster's most unusual and deadly weapon by far was her ability to breathe fire. The fire spewed out of the goat's head and devastated any challengers who approached the beast. It was also seen as an omen of sorts. She often appeared before natural disasters, mostly volcanic eruptions. Number 5. Harpies. The Harpies were anthropomorphic monsters in Greek mythology, with a bird's body and a woman's head. They were known as the Hounds of Zeus and were dispatched by the god to snatch away people and things from Earth for some reason. In fact, sudden mysterious disappearances were often attributed to these monsters. When a person disappeared from the Earth and couldn't be found, it was often said that the Harpies were responsible for the misfortune. This was said to be the fate of the daughters of King Pandarus, which only served to reinforce the fear surrounding these strange creatures. The missing are also said to be carried off by the Harpies to the underworld, the kingdom of Hades and the dead. They were agents of punishment who abducted people and tortured them on their way to the underworld. They were, of course, vicious, cruel, and violent, much like Zeus. Number 4. The Sphinx. The Sphinx was a female monster with the body of a lion, the head and breasts of a woman, eagle's wings, and according to some accounts, a serpent's tail. She was sent by the gods to plague the town of Thebes as a punishment for some ancient crime, preying on its ewes and devouring all who failed to solve her riddle. The Sphinx was stopping passerbys as well out of the Greek city of Thebes and asked them to answer her riddle, otherwise she would eat them. The riddle was, rich creature has one voice and yet becomes four-footed and two-footed and three-footed in the Greek tragic play Sophocles. This went so far that the region of Thebes' King Creon offered the throne to the one who would destroy her. Oedipus took up the challenge, and when he solved the Sphinx riddle, she cast herself off the mountainside in despair. Truly, only a man a mother could love. Number 3. The Gorgons. The Gorgons were 3 powerful winged monsters named Medusa, Stheno, and Uriel. It was said that their appearance would turn anyone who laid eyes upon it to stone. Of the 3 sisters, Medusa remains the most well-known. While Stheno and Uriel were immortal, Medusa, though, was not. King Polydectes of Seriphos once commanded the hero Perseus to fetch her head. He accomplished this with the help of the gods who equipped him with a reflective shield, a curved sword, winged boots, and a helm of invisibility. When he fell upon Medusa and decapitated her, 2 creatures sprang forth from the wound, the winged horse Pegasus and the giant Chrysaor. Again, pretty sure I'm mispronouncing every character in this. Perseus fled with the monster's head in a sack and her 2 angry sisters chasing close on his heels. Medusa's severed head still held its power to turn any onlookers into stone, so Perseus gave the head to Athena, who then fastened it onto her shield, giving the god a terrible power. Number 2. Cerberus. Another son of Typhon and Echidna, Cerberus was the famous 3-headed dog. He was Hades' pet and guards the entrance to the underworld. The 3-headed dog prevented the dead from escaping back into the living world, as well as kept the living from going there without the permission of Hades. Despite his terrifying looks, however, Cerberus was actually very friendly to the dead, as well as any new spirit who entered the underworld. However, all kindness disappears when a soul tries to escape from the underworld, and Cerberus would devour any soul that dared to try. There's only been 2 heroes that actually managed to defeat this monster. The first is Hercules, and the other is Orpheus. The former managed to defeat him with his brute strength, while the latter, who was a musician, made him fall asleep with his music. Oh, and he also has a lesser-known brother, a 2-headed dog called Orthrus. Now it's time for the day's best pick. So if you find something interesting online, just send it on over to us. Who knows, might even feature in a future video. With that said, number 1. CRONUS, or CRONUS, either or really. Today's best pick is actually not a monster, although he certainly looks like one. This is Cronus, as depicted in the movie Clash of the Titans. He was the youngest son of Uranus and Gaia, the leader of the first generation of Titans, and, for a brief period, the ruler of all gods and men. This came about when he led his brothers and sisters at a successful coup against their father. At first, Cronus became a mighty ruler. His actions to dethrone Uranus resulted in prosperity throughout the world. But after receiving a prophecy that his children would overthrow him, Cronus started to swallow them. Father of the Year. His wife Rhea gave birth to 5 children, and Cronus swiftly swallowed to ensure that the prophecy would not come true. You know, some parents believe in a firm spanking, but hey, whatever works, I suppose. When she became pregnant with her 6th child, Gaia told Rhea to go to the island of Crete to give birth in secret. There, the Olympian Zeus was born. He then tricked Cronus by giving him a stone wrapped in swaddling clothes to swallow. Cronus devoured the rock, called the Stone, without giving it a second thought. That child, Zeus, would be the one to overthrow him and lock him away in Tartarus. And the rest is a very weird cornucopia of history, to be honest. Thank you all for watching. Like the video if you do and hit that subscribe button. Also make sure to check out the channel's other amazing content. As always, thank you all for watching and I'll see you all next time. Later, everybody.